the Blemish Control Green Tea Scrub. It is oil-free salicylic acid acne medication, 100% natural derived ingredients. So I don't know if this is like just the natural form of this or not, but I thought I would try this out too because I've never heard of it. You guys have never told me about it, and it seemed interesting.
There are lots of things to be grateful for at all times of the year, all days, all hours, all minutes. And sometimes we have to be grateful for the things that are no longer in our lives because them not being there actually makes our lives much better. Let's just say I have had a long journey with some very questionable skincare products. We're talking St. Ives, we're talking facial scrubbers, we're talking makeup wipes because I have been there. And that is why I know from both past experience as well as industry experience, there are just some things that are on the market because they make companies money as opposed to helping most people's skin. Are there exceptions? Absolutely, but especially for this Thanksgiving season, I want to be grateful, be thankful for the products that either no longer exist or that I no longer use because they are no longer in my routine. And also be grateful for the sake of growth, for the sake of learning, for the sake of understanding new things and being open to that change. And speaking of change, can we start with the Clarisonic, specifically the Clarisonic versus the Neutrogena Wave? I did a video review, God, this was probably 8 years ago. I did a video review comparing this Neutrogena Wave to the Clarisonic. And both of these, I am so glad they went bye-bye. This was basically like a luxury spinning toothbrush for your face versus a spinning sander. The Neutrogena Wave was literally like a spinning sander. It just went in one direction and it was like, I don't know what about it was wavy. They had these little pads that you would stick on. They were exfoliating, they would foam up, but they actually had these granules in them, or the granules that I had used from my products would like get stuck on there. But it was literally like taking a sand blaster to your face. And here I was struggling with acne, you know, understanding certain things about how exfoliation can help products penetrate or kind of bring pimples to the skin. But oh my God, I was just stripping off my epidermis and I was using those things like every other day. The Neutrogena Wave, I don't even know if that exists anymore. And why was it called a wave? Like, what was it? Was it wavy like the ocean? No. Was it wavy? Like, I just don't get it. Like, if you are trying to buff metal, that $40 contraption that was battery powered would be a great buy. But for anyone who wants to take care of their skin, it was just way too much. And we still live in an over-exfoliation nation, but like back then, I feel like it was even worse. I was on antibiotics, I was using chemical exfoliants, I was using physical exfoliants like St. Ives, which we'll talk about in a second. And then I was also using, you know, these scrubbing brush sandblasters. It was just not a good time. And then we get to the Clarisonic, you know, the Neutrogena one was 40, and I don't even know how Neutrogena, you know, they sold a bunch of devices. Is it just me, or were most of Neutrogena's devices pretty questionable? Like, they've had a lot of them. Some are good, but a lot of them are questionable. And I don't use Neutrogena anymore because I'm now cruelty-free. But yeah, like, let's stick with the Dr. Dennis Gross. Let's stick with the light stim. Let's stick with the stuff that has some backing to it. That's not just like, buy it, break it, toss it. You know what else I am? Okay, Clarisonic. What's so painful about this is that they used to be on infomercials. They were like, this is the magical spinny brush thing, and it's like, it's a toothbrush for your face. And the whole thing about the Clarisonic was that unlike the Neutrogena Wave, it doesn't just spin in one direction, it would oscillate. So like, oh, it doesn't damage your skin. They would put it up to a stocking and show that it didn't rip the stocking. I'm sorry, but our skin is not a stocking. I get that it is a compelling visual, but it can still really damage and scratch up the skin. And if you were to just use that oscillating motion and just turn it in a circle, it still would have ripped up the stocking, okay? But the Clarisonic actually used to be in aesthetic offices. I'd used it in aesthetic office. I used it in aesthetic school, right? On both myself and others. Back in 2009, I think. And I remember it was like at Sephora and it was like the luxury thing. Like if you had the Clarisonic, you were cool. But unfortunately, your face was probably in pain. Now they did have like a sensitive brush head, but the Clarisonic was just an entire mess. I think the Clarisonic recommended using it daily when in general you should only do major physical exfoliation like that 1 to 3 times a week. And just especially for me, on top of the medications, on top of the products, it was just a recipe for disaster. And Clarisonic has gone out of business. We've done an entire video of it. I feel like they tried to blame COVID, but it wasn't COVID. It was the product and the fact that doctors, dermatologists, estheticians, and other people are sharing more accurate advice online. Remember, the internet is not a library. it is a dumpster. But if you can find people with credentials or morals or values or insight that you believe in and trust and find credible, you can almost use those people or those publications as like a funnel to help you funnel through all of the BS that is spewed online. I'm very grateful to know both personally and professionally some amazing dermatologists who agree that the Clarisonic is not their favorite. And you know what? I actually know a few derms who also had used the Clarisonic back in like 2009, back when I did. So let's just say it's out of business for many reasons, and I'm not mad about it. I'm sad for the people who maybe lost their jobs. I'm sad for, yeah, that's about it. That's about it. Like, that's all. There are much better exfoliants on the market, and you know, we don't need to like throw our money at these large companies when better things exist. But you know what's not better? Makeup wipes. Let's talk about that, because yes, I used makeup wipes as well. Now, these makeup wipes still exist, but thankfully they are not in my routine anymore, and I am just so grateful that I know better and that I no longer touch these. I used to use makeup wipes all the time. Before I used makeup wipes, I actually didn't even remove my makeup. So story time. Back when I was first going to aesthetic school, I was struggling severely with my acne. I was in high school, my grandfather was dying, I was breaking out because of stress, nutritional choices, hygiene choices, etc. And I would buy this blemish clearing foundation because it had salicylic acid in it and it was gonna clear my blemishes. So I put it on, wear it throughout the day, go to bed with it on at night, and then wake up and put more on. And when I would go to aesthetic school, I went to night school, and the people would be like, what do you mean? Like, you need to remove your makeup at night. And I was like, why? It's blemish clearing, it's better for me. And they basically took me by the shoulders. They were like, no, Cassandra, don't do that. I was like, okay, Ms. Vicky. And I learned that maybe you shouldn't sleep in your makeup. Now, unfortunately, removing my makeup before I went to bed did not solve my acne. That was not the only thing going on, but you know, it was nice to learn. And what did the girls do there at the aesthetic school? They handed me makeup wipes. Yes, they handed me makeup wipes. And that is why I started to use them. And not knowing better, not understanding at that time how to read ingredients or how to understand what my skin actually needed, I would use these wipes to remove my makeup from school because I would wear pounds of makeup every day just to get by. And wearing makeup, yes, people would tease me and say that it looked like I put paint over Swiss cheese, but it was better than them seeing the pus that was literally oozing out of my face. So makeup was a blessing. Very grateful, very thankful for makeup. And especially at the end of aesthetics night school, I would take it off in my car on the way home so that I wouldn't be sleeping in my makeup. Oh, but I would use the Neutrogena makeup wipes. There was even a time that I used the Yes To cucumber wipes because they were supposed to be more soothing. And aesthetics school did not teach me right. They taught us that natural was better. And it wasn't until much later in studying medical aesthetics and chemistry and cosmetic formulation and actual anatomy and physiology and understanding how ingredients penetrate into the skin and our face that I learned, natural is not always better. As a matter of fact, natural is sometimes less sustainable and worse for us, especially when it comes to things like contact dermatitis or skin allergies and irritation. So that aside, I had used many a makeup wipe, not realizing makeup wipes are basically pushing product around your face and deeper into your pores. They're not really cleaning it out. And then whatever ingredients you have on that makeup wipe, if it's a fragrancing ingredient, if it's a conditioner, an emulsifier, you're basically just wiping that around your face and leaving both the makeup residue and whatever residue is on the wipe on your face. And that's what I was doing. And there's a video that I did. Oh my God, oh my God, it was a Target haul talking about like travel-friendly skincare. And I whipped out some questionable products. I whipped out the Neutrogena wipes. I whipped out the Yes To wipes, all of the wipes. And like, for your butt, great. For your face, please no. And you know what else appeared in that Target video? Flashbacks. But before we talk about that debacle, that disaster, pore strips. Yes, I have a confession titled pore strips, specifically proactive pore strips. And this was after I was actually learning more about skincare. I had worked with doctors and dermatologists. I had spoken at things like the EADV and medical conferences and the American Academy of Dermatology. Like, I knew better, but I was still using proactive pore strips. I mean, this must have been at least 6-7 years ago. I'm having a hard time finding it on the YouTube channel because I think I did delete it because of how embarrassing it was. But yes, there was a time in my life that I used proactive pore strips. The pore strips that you kind of seal onto your nose as if it's a nose cast post-rhinoplasty, and you put like this little serum on it and it like hardens up and it's supposed to extract the gunk from your pores. It would strip the skin off of my nose. My nose would bleed, and I didn't talk about that in that video because it hadn't happened yet. That was the routine I was using, and then I went to the snow for a couple of weeks, and by the end of those weeks, oh, my nose was raw. And at that time, I was comfortable sharing my acne, but like, I've had comments, being a skin professional, people have come to me and said, why am I gonna trust you with my acne? You have acne, you can't possibly fix my skin. It's like, okay, well, I can't fix anyone's acne. Acne is a medical condition, and it can be genetic. There can be lifestyle factors. We can do things to treat it, but you can't cure things like acne, rosacea, eczema, etc. But I know what it feels like, and I don't know how you are feeling, but I know how I felt when I was dealing with acne at its worst. And this is the medical-backed literature. These are the products that have been proved by science, as well as other patients and clients. And these are also my anecdotal experiences. So I hope that I would be able to both sympathize, empathize, and understand what works for acne and help people. But nonetheless, there are some people who were very rude when they found out that I was an esthetician or a medical esthetician or working with a derm and struggled with acne actively. Comments like that would get to me because this is my life's passion, and the fact that it hurts means that it matters to me, or that it did hurt means that it did matter to me. Now, there are some pore strips that I still think are fun because, I mean, it is really satisfying if you have a ton of blackheads to just carefully peel them off, but there is a safe way to do it. It's not like waxing, you know? You don't want to destroy your face, and skin is delicate. We don't want to aggravate, little blood vessels. We don't want to cause telangiectasia or broken capillaries. And most pore strips are really freaking bad news. And did I use them? Absolutely yes. Do I regret them? Also absolutely yes. And when we do talk about them, or pore suckers, we speak about them in ways that they can be used responsibly if someone absolutely has to. Yes, and that's why I am grateful for growth. And speaking of, you guys, one of the worst things that I've ever done to my skin, someone in the YouTube comments, who probably meant well, recommended that I try the St. Ives scrub for acne. Why is there even a St. Ives? First off, why is there even a St. Ives scrub at all? And then secondly, why is there a St. Ives scrub for acne? Jagged walnut shells, scratchy scratchies that want to cause little micro tears that can lead to inflammation and infection, which is already what people with acne struggle with most. Why would they do this to us? It's not even polished walnut shells that are completely round. We are not rubbing nicely polished walnut balls that are shellacked into our skin to exfoliate. No, we are looking at the jagged, ground up, thrown out little walnut pieces that little Tommy probably discarded at the baseball game and someone stepped on, just kind of scraping those up into a pile, putting them inside a little bottle with some glycerin and being like, here people, rub this on your face and pay us $10 for it. The literal pain.
Also, this is something that you guys recommended to me. This is the St. Ives Naturally Clear Apricot Scrub. This is supposed to be like a blemish control, like for acne and for a scrub. Now, I have used something similar to this. It's oil-free. Used something similar to this in the past and I didn't like it. I've never actually used this product. Now, this is so small. This might last 2 weeks for a normal person. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to see results in 2 weeks of using this.
Look at that disclaimer. Great job, young Cassandra. Love the disclaimer. Also, my voice. Listen to the way I used to speak.
Probably not going to be using this exclusively while I travel. I might be using other things too. So if you guys want a review of it, I can try to do that for you, but just know that I'm going to be trying it out, but I'm not going to be using it exclusively, and I'm not going to be using it for, a month at a time to actually see how it benefits my skin. I'm just gonna use it to kind of get a feel for it and see whether or not I like it. This is another one that I saw. It was like right next to it, so I picked it up. It's the Blemish Control Green Tea Scrub. It is oil-free salicylic acid acne medication, 100% natural derived ingredients. So I don't know if this is like just the natural form of this or not, but I thought I would try this out too because I've never heard of it. You guys have never told me about it, and it seemed interesting.
Poor young Cassandra, not knowing better, misled by the aesthetics industry. How long ago was this, my little baby? Oh my god, that was 9 years ago. 9 years ago. And look at how confident I was with my acne on camera. That was at the time that I couldn't be confident with my acne in real life, and it was tearing me apart emotionally. But YouTube was this one place that I could connect to other people who would like listen to me, who would get it, who I could talk to. Like, I hope you know we have community here. And I am so grateful. I am so thankful for that. Thankful for a place to express ourselves. Thankful for a place to be sassy. Thankful for a place to be skintellectual and to grow and learn together, especially when it comes to these mistakes. This YouTube channel and this community has saved my life, and I hope that you understand how much gravitas comes with those words. And I can't always express it. I get sweaty palms and then I kind of shut down a little bit, which is something that I'm working on, like repressed trauma. That sucks. But you know what? We're grateful for EMDR. We are grateful for trauma-focused CBT and all of the things that come with that, because it's a lot, but it's also the hard work that makes things meaningful. What are the skincare products that you are grateful for that exist in your routine, or that you are grateful either went out of business or no longer exist? Ooh, there are some skincare scams that I am very glad no longer exist. Let me know if you want to talk about those, babies. And always remember that little quote that floats around the internet, that growth is the only constant, change is the only constant. And changing and growing and learning for better is something that we can all appreciate, because if we're not growing, we're staying the same, we're staying stagnant. And stagnancy doesn't allow us to be our best for both ourselves and others. So always remember to be your best self for you and for others. That means be beautiful both inside and out. And I cannot wait to see you in the comment section learning about your skincare mistakes or the products that you absolutely love. And of course, right here in this next video. Love you guys. Bye.